This is good. Well, I'm so pleased to be here to speak to you all on such an important topic. But before I begin, I want to thank Sabina Grunwald for her leadership in UF Mindfulness and for this entire team of faculty, staff, and students surrounding her to truly chart a path that provides opportunity for all on and off this campus to transform their lives and the lives of others. And in fact, that is the joy that all of us who work with undergraduate students have in that potential to transform lives. So before I begin, I want to have full disclosure with all of you. I'm in no way a master of meditation or mindfulness in its classical forms. Usually these days when I sit for more than about 5 minutes, I fall asleep as a busy administrator that I am. I even fell asleep when I was writing this, so I hope I don't have that same effect on you all in the next few minutes. But despite my lack of success in the classical meditation forms, I do practice mindfulness in many other ways daily and carve out time, praying through different forms such as Lectio Divina, walking prayer. Whenever I'm walking on campus, I'm typically in some sort of meditative prayer, praying for our students, praying for our faculty or staff, practicing mosaic art and my piano, digging in the sacred dirt of my husband's and my yard, and listening. I listen to music, to birds, to the wind, and on this campus, to my colleagues and to our precious students. One common message that I hear from fellow administrators, faculty, and staff colleagues, and from our students is a universal message. And it's a burning desire for more time and less busyness. All of us, regardless of our silo on campus, are pressed out of fear of the future into the hard work of doing in the now, increasing four-year graduation rates for fear of losing state funding, raising more research funding for fear of not gaining tenure, publishing more papers for fear of not being promoted, making good enough grades for fear of not being admitted to graduate school or being offered a job. Each of these is a measure of our worth in our respective roles. And sadly, none of us are pressed into the hard work of just becoming, which is at the heart of the true and traditional mission of higher education and of the meaning of our very lives. Because of the pressures on our time to produce that which can be measured, overlaid with the violence of information thrust at us from every direction and through every one of our senses, we in higher education are at risk of losing our ability to wonder and to grapple with mystery. When we no longer live in wonder and strive to embrace that which we cannot measure or solve, then we lose our ability to love. We live as individuals, out of sync with each other, rather than as persons, in relationship with each other and the surrounding world. We become problem solvers in the world, but not lovers of the world. As philosopher Gabriel Marcel is quoted as saying, "Getting to Mars is a problem. Falling in love is a mystery." Today, we in higher education pride ourselves for educating our students to design ways to soar to Mars. I, being from the College of Engineering, am the first to brag on our students, our aerospace engineering students, for example. But we do not see the higher value of teaching them to dive deeply into the heart of love. The meaning of their lives and their higher purpose does not reside on Mars, but rather deep within themselves and in their relationship to others. And if we have performed our jobs well, to the career path for which they were born. The very same truth holds for us administrators, faculty, staff as well. It's no wonder that today's students suffer in overwhelming number from anguish, from anxiety, and other mental health conditions, while meaninglessness is most often reported as their state of being. Being rich and famous were the top goals in life of a majority of students responding to a recent Pew Research Center survey of 20-year-olds. How can this not be when the world around them spins about in a swirl of numbers and information and measures and tasks that are intertwined with our collective worry about being able to solve the problems that threaten the future? In order to sustain the great work of research, teaching, and learning in higher education, to break down the silos here, and ultimately to ensure survival of a future generation as a community composed of loving, compassionate, interconnected human beings, all of us on college campuses must nurture practices of mindfulness. We must, for our own survival. Today, the research of our faculty involves grand challenges that cannot be grappled with without wonder and imagination, a willingness to work with diverse multidisciplinary teams, and an ability to see deeply and listen to others closely. In other words, with a steady presence and attention to the subject that is being studied. Let me read how Evelyn Fox Keller, the biographer of 1983 Nobel Prize recipient Dr. Barbara McClintock, described how McClintock was able to see further and deeper into the mysteries of genetics than her colleagues. McClintock was able to take the time to look and to hear what the material had to say to her. The material in this case was corn, and McClintock studied each of her corn plants with great concentration, patience, care, and even love. She knew each of them intimately. Even back then, a group of graduate and postdoctoral students commiserated with McClintock that the new technology of molecular biology did not leave them time, and the pace of current research precluded contemplative stance. If we do not resist the temptation of being consumed by the frantic reaching of metrics and outcomes, we stand to lose the opportunity for great discoveries that can come only when we look and we hear and listen. UF Mindfulness is making great strides in delivering this message to this campus. Also, starting in the fall of 2018, UF will launch an audacious program called UF Quest for all incoming freshmen. We are currently in the process of fundraising and developing this program. UF Quest will consist of a combination of courses and experiential learning woven together by the overarching theme of meaning-making and purpose exploration. All students will engage in mindfulness practices in this program, from learning how to meditate to encouragement in practicing their spiritual tradition, to reflecting on what brings their lives meaning and what they believe to be their purpose of life. Students will be invited to bring their mind, body, and spirit with them into the classroom as they are carefully guided in beginning the questioning that accompanies a well-lived life. Who am I? Why am I here? What are my unique gifts? How can I contribute my gifts towards the healing of this world? They will need every one of us on this campus and many in our surrounding community to mentor them with compassion through the hard work of becoming who they are. I hope you all are willing to join us as meaning mentors for our students in this UF Quest program. So I'm going to end here with an image I hope will imprint in your heart as one that I believe represents the power of mindfulness woven throughout all that we do in higher education. I am a big fan of medieval technology. It was certainly not the Black Ages, as they're called. Many of the technologies were invented that we use today in that time, as well as in the arts. So the image I want to leave you is that of a loom. used to weave the beautiful medieval tapestries, many of which are hanging in museums throughout the world. If one were to look at the reverse side of a tapestry, you just see one big hot mess. Okay? It's just a interweaving of threads that make no sense. It's not clear what the intended image is when looking at the back of the tapestry. Yet this is all that the weaver could see when busily tending the threads. The only way to see how the desired image of the tapestry was appearing was to stop the work, walk to the other side of the loom, and see the other, the right side. Mindfulness, in its many forms of practice allows us to stop our busyness and hard labor of doing, and basing our worth on counting threads or funding or publications or accolades, to step around to the other side without counting or measurement, and to see the greater view of our life, to see our lives differently, and perhaps be encouraged to return to the weaver's side with a change of thread. When we are truthful to ourselves in higher education, we must admit that the greater view on our tapestries, the beauty of our life seen on the right side, includes an image of our guiding our students to learn how to stop their weaving, to step around to the other side to make sense of their tapestry too, and to see their beautiful selves from that different place of stillness and love within, and perhaps too to return to the busy side with a change of thread. So I ask all of you first, and all of us, to let us work on how we see and tend our love and what we are becoming before we assist our students in their hard work of becoming. UF and all of us within must remember the words of author Elia Delio. How we see is how we love. What we love is what we become. So I thank you for your attention, and God's peace and blessings to all of you.